everyone, welcome back to my lab and today's video, which is going to be a little bit of a catch-up sesh. I've been MIA from YouTube for about a month and it was very necessary. I had a lot of things going on since I recently moved and I had to settle into my new place and things like that. Not to mention, things have been a little bit uncertain in my job. As you know, I work in education, and so all that aside, I just wanted to have a little bit of a catch-up session. I didn't even get a chance to tell you everything because my makeup look today I think is pretty simple but still fun. And I was playing with a lot of the new products from the Besame and I Love Lucy collection. I have some of those. I have the Bento blush palette, the cream one, Tower 28 bronzer, and a couple of other goodies thrown in that I wanted to share with you today. If that sounds like something you'd like, let's go ahead and get into the video. But first, I did want to remind you to please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I would love to make it to 10K subscribers this year. Is that even possible? Maybe not at my growth rate, but if you're interested in helping me out, then do click that subscribe button. I'm trying to upload content as frequently as I possibly can, given that I am now much more settled. Now let's go ahead and get into today's video. I am so out of practice. I know I haven't filmed in over a month and I had some videos that I wanted to upload. This is the eyeshadow palette I'm going to be playing with today. I couldn't not buy this. This is the I Love Lucy Besame collection. This is the Club Babalu palette, and I will admit that the color story was not, in my opinion, the most inspired. Here's what that looks like, but I had to buy it because of the theme. My family and I actually learned how to speak English by watching I Love Lucy, so it has a very special place in my heart, and my boyfriend and I actually just started watching it from the beginning because I still have the DVD collection for it. So now, despite the fact that I do own Besame eyeshadow palettes, this is the first one that I actually use because I have serious problems, and that's part of the thing that I wanted to talk to you about today as well. So I'm going ahead and priming my eyes using the Urban Decay eyeshadow primer potion. So like I said, this color story is not my personal favorite. I don't typically go for cooler toned shades, and so I don't know what's gonna happen with this, but I'm thinking I want to use that lilac shade, the one called Lucy's Lilac, and see if we can do like a pastel eye look with a bold wing. The palette does come with a brush, which it kind of reminds me of one of the sides, the fluffier side of the brushes that come with the Dose of Colors mini palettes. So like I said, this is the color I want to focus on. I think I'm just gonna try to pack it on the lid and see how that goes. So I'm finally filming in my new place. I have no idea how the lighting is going to look. Right now it's looking like it's a little bit dim, to be honest. I'm looking at myself in the monitor and the ISO of my camera is set on auto, which is not something that I like to do. Usually I like to keep it on 100 or 200, but the lighting in my new beauty room is a little bit dim. Even though I got a brand new light, which I really love, it's still a little bit dim, and I'm using just the light from my mirror. So I have my Ricky mirror in front of me and my camera in front of that, and that's basically what I'm using for lighting. One of the things I wanted most in my new space was to be able to film right at my vanity, so I could have my things handy and I could be a little bit more comfortable rather than moving my stuff over to, you know, the blank backdrop kind of setting from my vanity and then filming that way, because then it was just tedious and setting up to film was taking a long time. And I think that since I want to be able to film more, I wanted to make it as comfortable as possible. So definitely let me know what you think of this lighting setup. This shade is actually showing up really nicely. I think it's gonna work out really well for what I wanted to. I'm using the Real Techniques Instapop shade brush too, which packs on color on the lid really well. So yeah, you'll have to let me know what you think about the lighting. I think that since I'm sitting really close to the camera, it's gonna be able to capture colors really well, which is the most important if you're doing makeup videos anyway, but it's just not as bright as I'm used to. It's gonna take me a little while. I do have a spot, so basically right here where you see that table, that's an IKEA 9 drawer and it's on casters, so I can easily wheel it out of the way, and then the wall right above it is completely empty. I don't have anything there, so I'll be able to use a blank backdrop if needed, and then bring out my lights, which are in the closet there, my soft boxes and my ring light, and use the typical setup as I had before. There's definitely a lot more room here, and since it's an entire room to itself, it's still a little bit easier. I'm gonna go ahead and use that bone colored shade, and I'm just going to blend out, soften the edges just a little bit to diffuse the color a little bit. But I think that's about all I want to do. I might deepen the outer V with that mauve tone. We'll see. So my move, guys, it did not go according to plan at all. The moving company that I hired, firstly, they didn't move any of my makeup. I moved my makeup myself. I was lucky enough that I didn't have to vacate my old residence prior to getting possession of this one, so I was able to bring the makeup boxes over here on my own. Took several trips, which is just shocking because no one really needs that much makeup. It's really ridiculous, actually. Like, it made me realize how much makeup I have, how much of it is unused, and I want to do a series on my channel, which I'm thinking I want to call Operation Curation. And just like the name suggests, I just want to curate my makeup collection because it's truly out of control. Like, I have way too much makeup. I want to be able to focus on the products that I really like. So I'm going to use this one here. The colors are showing up really true to what I'm seeing in person, which makes me happy. I'm keeping an eye on my monitor here just to see. Let's see, I did say I was going to use black liner. I'll probably save that shade for the lower lash line. So let me see if I can apply some liner now. There really isn't anything else I want to do with the eyeshadow. I'm using my Benefit roller liner. I still really think that this is an amazing eyeliner. And this is like a little sample size, and it's been going really strong for me. I just spent way longer on that eyeliner than I intended to, but like any skill, if you don't use it, you lose it. I'm just using my Charlotte Tilbury eye brightener now. I like to use this because it keeps me from having to wear too much concealer. It really brightens the under eye area. If I forget to mention a product I'm using, I will link it in the description box below so you can check it out. I need to get better at doing that. That was something I was working towards before I had my break. I'm gonna go in with my Charlotte Tilbury Legendary Lashes Volume 2. So like I was saying, I moved all my makeup on my own, but I did have to hire a moving company to move the heavy stuff. Especially like, for instance, the cabinets that you see behind me. They have glass doors, and there was no way that they were gonna fit in my car or my daughter's car, and I really needed professionals to take care of moving that stuff. So I called a company. They had really great reviews on Google, really great reviews, like, and some fairly recent, because of course it was also a concern to have to be moving in the middle of a pandemic. So I talked to the moving company several times, and they asked me to provide an inventory of the types of items that they were going to be moving, size-wise, and if there was anything that was going to be particularly difficult to move, which I do have a couple of items that I knew were going to be difficult to move, and those were going to be my treadmill, my headboard for my bed, and this kind of like media cabinet item that I've had for a long time, and I really like it. It allows you to mount a TV flat without drilling into the wall, which is not exactly true because you have to anchor the cabinet to the wall because it's very narrow, but I really like that and I wanted to keep that one. So I let them know that I was going to have those items that were going to be challenging to move, and they said that, you know, it didn't sound like anything too out of the ordinary and they were accustomed to moving those types of things. I asked them if they wanted me to provide pictures, and they said that pictures were not going to be necessary, that they could tell from the description more or less how many men they would have to send over, as well as the size of the truck. In general, the person I was talking to on the phone inspired a lot of confidence. He seemed to really know what he was talking about. I'm using the Good Molecule Silicone-Free Priming Moisturizer. It's a really unobtrusive primer, and I have a lot of skincare on, but I applied it quite some time ago, so I don't think that it's gonna interfere with anything from that. This is a really nice all-around primer. It doesn't leave a tacky feel, so it's not that kind of primer. It's really just feels more like a hydrating primer. For my foundation, I'm going to be using the Pretty Fresh Tinted Moisturizer. I know that they have a foundation now in this same line, I think, but again, having just moved and really taken a look at my makeup collection, I have no need for foundation, especially considering I don't wear it that often. So that was about one pump of the foundation, and I'm just gonna blend that out. I think the lighting is changing a little bit. I don't know. Just bear with me while I figure this out. If I have to go back to the backdrop with the studio lights, I can do that. But I do like how true to life the colors do show up. I think that's something hard to achieve in video, and it's really important for makeup videos. So anyway, so I gave them the inventory of everything that they were going to be moving, We set a date for June 23rd, so I had to make sure that everything was packaged. It was my goal to make sure that it was going to be as easy as possible because they quoted me a certain amount for 3 men, a certain size of truck, and a 2-bedroom apartment, which is what I was moving from. So they quoted me a certain amount and they said, you know, it would take about 4 hours. And I thought that sounded reasonable. My new place is not that far. They said that 1 hour was taking driving time into account, which I thought made sense. Even though my new place was really only maybe like 30 minutes at the most from my old place. There we go. So you can see not much coverage at all, but I applied just a small amount. You can definitely build the coverage on this foundation, but I don't like to do that. I'm going to use the concealer from the same line and just a tiny bit of concealer. I really like how using that brightener minimizes the amount of concealer I then have to use. So I just put just a little bit right over my dark circles. So when moving day came, I was really well prepared. Absolutely everything was packed. I didn't have anything kind of laying around. I had disassembled all the larger pieces of furniture. I had put my mattresses inside mattress bags, and I had covered the delicate furniture like the cabinets behind me with saran wrap and towels and stuff to protect the glass and also protect the finish, because it being white, it shows nicks super easily. So I was really proud of how ready I was. I was able to take that time because my closing was on June 5th and we didn't move until June 23rd. So I had time to both clean this new place as well as pack up my old place and just have everything as ready as possible, because if we should go over the 4 hours that they quoted me, then it was gonna be $110 an hour for any overages, and I really wanted to avoid that because in the closing I had to spend a certain amount of money. My savings were like completely depleted and everything was budgeted so tightly. I work in the summer. I always teach in the summer if I'm able to, but that's only paid at 75% of my normal salary, and so already I'm working at a reduced amount of money than what I'm used to having. So it's a time of the year where things are really tight, that and Christmas time. I'm using my Charlotte Tilbury contour wand. I love this thing so much. It's so easy to use and it helps chisel the definition that I've lost in the time that I wasn't exercising as much and eating very poorly, because I took a long time to set up this place exactly the way I wanted. So when moving day came, the gentlemen arrived and they were very respectful. They were wearing masks and they looked around and they're like, oh yeah, you know, everything's fine, we'll make it in the time frame and everything will be fine, it'll fit in the truck and so on. He was saying that he wanted to shrink wrap everything, and shrink wrapping is exactly how it sounds. It's literally saran wrap around furniture, and they were saying that the items I didn't shrink wrap myself would cost $50 an item. I mean, that's $50 for something like a coffee table, $50 for an end table. You know, those $50 will add up really quickly. So they had me sign like a release form saying that I didn't want things shrink wrapped, and I guess that reduced their liability for damages. It wasn't clear and it was moving so quickly. I don't know, I probably shouldn't have signed off on that. But then again, if I hadn't, then they would have probably stopped moving things. Another thing that I noticed was that they loaded up the boxes into the truck first, which I guess they wanted to put stackable items kind of in the back and then more awkward items towards the front. But the way I saw it is I could have moved boxes myself. There were boxes of like books and things like that that I could have moved on my own should there be any issue fitting my stuff in the truck. So they had the boxes in there. I'm going to try this Tower 28 bronzer. It has gotten a lot of buzz. Well, not so much now anymore, but when it came out, it did receive a lot of buzz. And so I wanted to try this one out. I'm going to use a similar brush, but I have another one actually. I have 2 of those brushes. These are really hard to open. I'm just going straight into the compact, so hopefully that's okay. I don't know how pigmented it's gonna be, so I'm going in with the light hand. I think I have the lighter of the 2 shades. This one is called West Coast. I think they have another one called Best Coast. I'm not exactly sure. I think the one called Best Coast is a little bit darker. I think it's a little bit more red as well, which is not my favorite when it comes to bronzers. I prefer bronzers that are more on the golden bronze side or slightly more cooler tone. I don't know, I just think those look best on my skin tone. So right off the bat, this has kind of a metallic, I don't know, it has kind of like a metallic vibe to it. It doesn't look metallic on the skin, but there's definitely some shimmer on there. Not shimmer, but I guess metallic is the best way I can describe it, as if it were a highlighter for a deeper skin tone. I'm not sure how I'm feeling about this. I think it's okay, but I definitely don't like it as much as my Fenty bronzer. I really like that one. It's so easy to use and I really like the color. So anyway, long story short, moving day, they were packing everything up and then all of a sudden they said, oh, we're gonna have to make 2 trips. And I was like, I let them know how much stuff I had and we should be able to do it in 1 trip. They said they were gonna send out the largest truck and that everything should be fine. And they're like, well, we've piled all your stuff and nothing else fits. And by this time, there were a couple of items left, like the treadmill, a couple of bar stools, just smaller kind of little random pieces of furniture. And I was like, if we were gonna make 2 trips, why did you stack my furniture like that? So I go downstairs to look, and I'm glad I waited to make this video because otherwise I would be bawling just thinking about it. They stacked my furniture, everything on top of everything else, without any real regard for how heavy the pieces were. So there were some lighter pieces on the bottom and heavier pieces on the top, and it was just stacked all the way to the top of the truck. And at this point, everything is down there, like it's already stacked. At this point, there was really nothing to do but just go. And there was nothing I can do to avoid doing the second trip because the treadmill was something I couldn't move on my own. The bar stools I could have, but there were the items that they left behind are things that I couldn't really feasibly move on my own. And the reason I hired movers in the first place, because I was totally fine with like moving every single day, because I had like 20 days between the time I had to vacate my old place and come over here. It has blended into the skin nicely, but it hasn't made the kind of impression that the Fenty Beauty one made on me. I love that one like the first time I used it. This one I think is fine, but I'm not in love just yet. I have this Kaja Cutie Bento Creamy Lip and Cheek Duo. I have the Patrick Ta blushes as well. I bought those, but I think a lot of people are showing them on their channels and they aren't really showing these. So I figured I'd show this so that you can see something a little bit different. So when they say that these are small, they're very small. I mean, the price tag is smaller as well, but they are really tiny, tiny. Like they're definitely about the size of the eyeshadow trios. It's a little bit shorter because there's only 2 shades here. You have this poppy one, oops, and then you have more of a neutral peach one. I think I'm gonna go for the peachy shade. Not exactly sure how to even go into it because it's very small for a brush. So I can probably use this brush by Sonia G. It's the Face 2 brush, and you can see that it's like exactly the size to go in there. Could probably just go in there with my fingers, but I prefer to work with brushes. Seems to be picking up fine on the brush itself. It's a very pretty color. I do like this color for the eyeshadow look that I'm wearing. It's a little bit peachy. Alright, so we have the truck stacked all the way to the top, and when we tried coming to my new place, it turned out that the whole street, like a little bit further west, basically along our route, it was completely dug up. You know when they try to repave the street and they break the entire asphalt up and it's taken down to 1 lane and basically just a mess? Well, that's what happened. So we were in traffic for a really long time. A really, really long time trying to get out of the construction zone. And obviously that's not their fault. But the fact that we were going to have to take 2 trips, I do hold them responsible for that because they were supposed to send a certain size truck according to the inventory that I gave them. And I had offered to send them photographs of the items, measurements, anything that they needed. And they're like, no, it sounds pretty routine. And I felt that it was pretty routine. I don't have any large pieces of furniture, anything out of the ordinary aside from my treadmill in my opinion, so I don't know. So when we finally got here, they started asking me, okay, where do you want these things? And they were going to reassemble things, and I'm just like, these guys are getting paid by the hour. I should just put it anywhere. And so they literally put it anywhere. They stacked everything in the larger room of the house, which is kind of like, you know, it's kind of open living area where the dining room and living room would be. So they just stacked everything there, and it was just piled literally over my head. Furniture stacked on top of each other and boxes, and it felt like the walls were closing in on me because it was such chaos, such disarray. And then as they were bringing the furniture, and I was noticing how damaged some of the pieces were, there were scuffs. A lot of the legs from underneath the furniture were missing altogether. There were screws kind of rolling around all over that, you know, it came from something. I don't know what, but it came from something. And guys, it wasn't good. So we finished unloading everything, and then we had to go back in the same mess of traffic. And long story short, we went back, brought everything back over here. They broke my treadmill, so now the wheels don't work. They don't roll. Like, you have to actually lift the treadmill to move it because the wheels were damaged when they were bringing it up, and it's tough to move that treadmill. It's one of the ones that has elevation differences, or incline is what I mean. I just knew it was gonna be a difficult piece to move, and that's broken. So many things were broken, but the real shocker came when they gave me the bill. They did charge me for the additional hours, which I was expecting, but they also charged me for 2 hours, which was the drive back and forth twice. So what they tried to say was that the driving time that was covered was driving from their business to my house in the morning, and then driving back to their business when they were done. And I'm sorry, but that wasn't clear when I was speaking to the person who quoted me the price and everything else. So the cost of this moving was over twice what they quoted me. And like I said, I was really tightly budgeted for this move. When they told me how much it was going to be, I put that much aside, plus money for an additional hour, plus money to tip the gentleman, because, you know, moving stuff, it's a hard job. That's not easy work. In addition to the Lucy palette, I did buy the compact, and to be honest, this is more like a blotting powder. It just says face powder compact. It doesn't really say what the powder is to be used for, but to me, it's kind of like a blotting powder that you would carry in your purse. And my skin is dry, so I have no need for a blotting powder. But here's what the outer packaging looks like, and here is the beautiful compact. It's got Lucy on there and some rhinestones, and I just couldn't not have it. So it comes with a little powder puff, and the powder looks just translucent, really light actually, very soft. I just want to make sure that it doesn't have any kind of sheen. It doesn't look like it does. It's very soft. I don't wear a lot of powder anyway, so let's just try to powder under my eyes and see what happens. The concealer has actually set quite nicely on its own, I think. My battery is about to die, so I don't know how the lighting is gonna look when I turn it back on. I just feel like a fish out of water. I'm just tapping on just a small amount of powder. I think it's setting the concealer, but it's not giving me any kind of blurring effect. At least I don't think so. Maybe a little, because I see I have milia here, or what people keep telling me is milia, but I don't know. I think milia is supposed to go away after a certain amount of time, or if you stop using like super occlusive products. But I've changed up the products I've used for so long, and I've always had those. Well, not always, but they've been there for years now. Not too brightening. It is a little bit mattifying, which I prefer for underneath the eye because that's where I want everything blurred and hidden. That's where my problem areas are. It doesn't look bad, but honestly, I didn't need this powder at all. I do prefer the Charlotte Tilbury powder or some of my loose powders. The Too Faced powder is one that I really like for underneath the eye. It's the primed and poreless version. Such a great powder, so underrated. I kind of like the freshness of just the eyeshadow on the upper part of the eye. I don't know if I want to put it underneath, guys. I don't know, I don't think I do. Wish you could give me your opinion, I'm not sure. I like how fresh it looks like that. I think I'm gonna leave the eyeshadow like that. For my highlighter, I have this by Annette 69 and Beauty Creations. I think Beauty Creations is a Latina-owned brand. I've never used or had anything by the brand before, and I got this in a Try Beauty box, and I figured why not give it a shot for today's highlighter. The shade looks pretty, just looks like your champagne color. Doesn't look like anything too intense at the moment, but I'm using a very, very light hand, and I'm using a really fluffy brush. This is one of those Wet n Wild ones that comes in those holiday sets that they do. And not every brush from those holiday sets are good, but a lot of them actually are, this being one of them. I really like this one. It's great for really intense highlights because it allows you to kind of tone that color down. I think that's pretty. I'm gonna actually add a little bit of this highlight on my inner corner just to tie everything together. So this is where we are, and I have to choose a lip product. I did buy both of the lipsticks from the Lucy collection, and I have Love That Redhead and What a Peach. What a Peach is, I think, the one I'm going to use today, so it looks very similar to the compact. It has I Love Lucy on it and rhinestones. Now this one, I think it was maybe melted a little bit. Let me see if I can show you. But on the side, there's a little bit of embossing, and it looks like it may have leaned against the bullet and melted down a little bit, but that's okay. Once I put it on, that design is going to be gone anyway. It's still totally usable. I think that's the one I'm going to use. The other one is more red, and I don't think that one's going to suit this look today, but the bullet is exactly the same, and you can see that you have the red shade. This one is Love That Redhead. Love them so much. I couldn't not buy this. I almost bought the kit, but when the collection first launched, I guess the entire PR box or whatever you may want to call it wasn't really popping up, and I was so worried that things were gonna sell out because of course everyone probably has the same Lucy obsession that I do, which is doubtful because I don't think the collection is sold out at all. I think the color story is just a little intimidating, but I actually really like the look that I came up with today. I think it's really pretty and it was really easy to do. So I'm going to get rid of the lip gloss I've been wearing. I got a sample on one of the Sephora codes that you type in, and this is a very generous sample. My daughter has the full size one, and it's not much bigger than this, which is great. This is the Lancome Juicy Tube, and this one is in the shade Marshmallow Electro. That's what's been on my lips while I've been filming. I don't want anything interfering with the color, so we could get a really good idea of what the color actually looks like. So I'm gonna use this lip liner by Wayne Goss. It's in the shade Mauve, and to me it's more of a pinky nude shade for me, I would say. That Juicy Tube definitely has glitter. So I'm gonna see if I can avoid filling in the lips to get a real feel for the shade. It's so pretty even though this one was damaged. I don't want to ruin it, but I think this is my first time trying the Besame formula, actually. Feels super creamy. I think that they change up their formula based on like the era that they're trying to match, but I'm not exactly sure. This is also the first Besame lipstick I have ever used. I'm just going to fix my lip line out here. Pretty, I think it's very fresh, a nice look for summer. Let me know what you think, and please bear with me with the lighting. I would really like to be able to keep filming at my vanity. It feels so comfortable, and it's something I always wanted to do. Hopefully I can make it work out. I didn't get to finish telling you my story aside from how moving made me go broke. Oh, and the guys then were telling me that on a job like that, they're accustomed to receiving $150 gratuity per man. So it was a hard day, but I think moving is always hard. I'm here, I set up my place. I can still let you know a little bit about how I set up my place and how I organize everything. Let me know what you think, because I don't know, I guess I did my makeup faster than I thought, or I was just enjoying chit-chatting with you because I've missed you so much. I'm gonna go ahead and fix my hair so I can do an intro and outro. Let me know if you'd like to hear some more moving stories during a get ready with me, or if you'd rather I just be quiet about my personal stuff and focus on the makeup. Just let me know what you would like to see here on my channel, and yeah, I will be right back. So I finished the look by putting a little bit of beige liner in my waterline, and I applied lower lash mascara because I realized I forgot that, and I thought that it would kind of finish off the look. And so this is the finished look. I'm really happy with how it turned out. It's not too much. It's still a little fresh for summer. I may have overdone it on the blush, but that's okay. I think it looks pretty still. And yeah, I'm really happy with the way that the look turned out. I kind of shared my thoughts on the products that I was using as I was going along. I've seen my friend Alice share her thoughts on products at the end, which I think works really well, but I just kind of went on autopilot and that's what I did. But let me know what you thought about that. It's not a full review because a lot of the products were first impressions, and again, I'm happy with with the way that the look turned out. I didn't get to tell you my full story or catch up and what exactly I've been doing for the past month, but I did give you a little bit of insight at least about how the moving situation went and where my frame of mind has been, which hasn't been all that great. But I'm feeling much better now with the house completely done and taking the time to do the things I love, like make YouTube videos. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, as I do plan to upload a lot more content now that I'm nice and settled. If you're still here with me, thank you so much for toughing it out with me. I really, really appreciate it. That's everything for me today. I hope to see you again very, very soon on my next one. Bye-bye.